Recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles, this is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. We did not want the terror laser for ourselves, because that would be wrong. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Jim.
Welcome to issue number 312 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Every time we record, we talk about comic books. On this week's show, we have the kickoff of a brand new club discussion title, a 4-issue series, Marvel Zombies Dawn of Decay. So we'll be covering issue number 1 of that. Upcoming episodes, we'll have What If Donald Duck Became Thor, we'll have more Marvel Zombies, Minor Arcana number 1, Batman Full Moon number 1, and What If Minnie became Captain Marvel. Minnie Mouse, that is. So after we do the club discussion, we'll jump over to the weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth, talk about the books that we've been reading, and then that will be our show. So let's kick it off with the club discussion. Okay, Marvel Zombies Dawn of Decay number 1. Groot feels bad, not only because Rocket's latest scheme put them firmly in the crosshairs of the Avengers, but also he's just plain sick, sap-dripping nose and all. Things go from bad to apocalyptic. However, after an ill-timed sneeze in Captain America's face has unforeseeable consequences. Suddenly, Groot is being attacked by a horde of zombified Avengers, and only he and Hulk, with his impenetrable green skin, remain impervious. Now it's up to these two heroes to team up and fight their way through zombies they once called friends. This comic is done by Thomas Krajewski, Jason Murr, Rochelle Rosenberg, and VC's Travis Lanham. All right, this synopsis pretty much covered this issue, so I think, this is a kickoff of another new Marvel Zombies title, a mini-series here. I haven't read all the Marvel Zombies. I've read a decent amount. Kirby has probably read them all, I would assume, but this one, I think, may have the funnest approach, at least with the premise of Groot here being the main character and how this zombie apocalypse begins. So yeah, once again, I think the synopsis did a good job, so we're just going to dive right in. Let's kick it off with Kirby, with you being a big Marvel Zombie reader. What are your thoughts on the first issue of this new entry here?
I loved it. I love how it's based off of Groot getting a cold and stuff like that. I really liked how and you're seeing it more on the females that get the disease and stuff. But I love how you get the Day of the Dead look with some of the characters where they got flowers over their eyes.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't find a good picture. There is one guy that has it. Got the purple flowers on his eyes. But yeah, I like that. And then I think in the long run, Cap's going to be really disappointed in Groot. But yeah, this was really well done. Really enjoyable. I love the banter between the Hulk and Groot, of course. But yeah, I was very happy with it. 4 issues. Yeah, I can live with it. So
Cool. Let's jump over to Katie. Thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good way to start getting excited for Halloween. It was just pure fun. I thought the interaction between Cap and Groot and then Banner and Groot was very touching. I just thought it was nice that they include him like that. And also the humor of Cap having a discussion about right and wrong and, with a talking tree. And I'm like, that's interesting. I would like to know more about Groot's moral compass and how he understands ethics. A super fun issue. I have not read really any Marvel Zombies, so this is new to me, but it gave me like the excitement and the fun and like the hype of the first Avengers movie, and it's actually been a while since I've watched that, so it was kind of good to get that feeling again. I enjoyed it. Not too many deep thoughts, but it's shaping up to be pretty fun, and I look forward to the next one.
Excellent. Jim? Your audio, please. I am Groot is what he said.
I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. I also have not read any of the Marvel Zombies before this. So this I thought was a very fun. I was expecting like to be behind a curve and have to catch up with the zombie stuff, but no, I did not. It was all pretty well laid out. You're at the very beginning of the story. It also seems like you may have been this. I was wondering if this may be like a prequel to zombie stuff that has gone before, but it doesn't matter.
One thing I will say, from what I remember, it's been a while since I read it. I mean, this is basically more of a fungus style outbreak for the zombie, kind of like the one video game on Cinemax, the movie. But the original one was Galactus was infected and decayed, and people went there, and that's how the infection started to him. I don't think it was the same style virus that set the two off. So this is completely different style virus to me. But
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
a fun little thing that makes me think that it is specific to this story is the idea that they were on a planet and he was petting a flurkin, which we would know as, on Earth here, what looks like a cat, but it's an alien flurkin. And while he wasn't, bitten or anything like that, he had some sort of contact. Maybe we'll get some other evidence of that or whatever. But yeah, it seems like it rooted from the flurkin. So.
And I thought it was fun that Groot could even get sick, and then transfer it to other people, humans. And then for me, it was every time the text shows up, I am Groot, I am Groot, I am Groot, it always looks the same. So for me, the fun was in my mind trying to get the intonation that he would have sounded like based on the responses the other characters give him. So what did his Groot, I am Groot, sound like? So I'm enjoying doing that. And it's like trying to get that voice in there. So that's fun. And just the art style was not what I was expecting a lot more hardcore out of a zombie. This is a very, like fresh, almost fun art style for a zombie outbreak book, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing much of Jason Murr's artwork, but stylization in here I really enjoyed also.
Yeah, I think it works with the tone really well of it. Having Groot being a very kid-friendly, adorable, top favorite character and everything. So that probably led them to kind of structure it in a way that while it still probably has, it does have an all ages rating on there. I didn't notice that. I just assumed it was going to be teen, but it does say all ages on there. So, okay.
And the fact that Rocket was concerned about the government having this terror laser, right? Not that he didn't want them to have it. It's
forgot about the terror laser.
Yeah, and before we move off, I just want to make sure, Jim, you haven't been affected at all by. I'm looking at your arm there. I don't know if you've been bit at all or.
Darn it! What happened again?
Oh no! Hopefully, we can go through Zoom here. So I'm going to see if there's some kind of mask filters I can put on myself during this episode just to play it safe.
No.
I was surprised they did this.
All it is.
Just another stupid tattoo, huh?
Yeah.
And for the audio listeners, his T-shirt says "tattoos are stupid." So, just for context of that.
Yeah. Now we're gonna get a bunch of haters.
I've just been.
Yeah, I thought it was funny how they actually used snot for Groot, whereas other aspects it would have been like a bunch of little flowers or something shooting out of his nose.
Shouldn't it be sap?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think it referred to it something about sap in the preview here, but my thoughts pretty much echo all of yours. Kind of like what Katie was saying, she brought up the Avengers movie, and especially for an all ages comic, it was probably smart to kind of have a very recognizable Avengers cast. You know, they're all there minus Hawkeye, basically. But yeah, I think that just kind of helps knowing that this one is going to be marketed to a wider audience. Um, I think that was probably a smart idea of the tone of it, with Abe having it be Groot, the art style being a little brighter and more cartoony and less demonic and artistically dark and stuff like that. So I think they played all the right notes to play to this different audience, and I'm gonna assume that this is the first one that's been built for that, and um, yeah, so that was kind of cool. I really dug it. Yeah, trying to see if there's any other moments to call out that. Oh yeah, what Jim was saying about the Groot dialogue. Every time Groot's been in a comic, I think everyone's done a pretty good job of, even in the movies too, when you just hear the responses, and Jim takes it to the next level of just kind of trying to interpret the tone and the delivery of Groot, which I know James Gunn had Vin Diesel do a lot of different takes on it rather than just record it twice and then be done with it. So every time you hear him speak in the movies, that he is specifically that Vin had the translation of what he was actually saying, so that he can kind of inflect that in the 3-word delivery. So yeah, I think they did another good job with that of writing Groot. Jim?
There was one other interplay that I liked that I have often thought of, and it's like, why isn't this happening? It was between Iron Man and Ant-Man, Giant Man, about integrating their tech back and forth. Why doesn't Stark use Pym tech and vice versa? And I also thought, why don't they also include vibranium in the suits, just like the Captain America shield, and share it with everybody? And like these, or the Avengers would be like the ultimate heroes in the universe, with all the support and armor they need.
Yeah. Well, then, then
Nobody likes Sharon.
Then the end. No more stories. No more stories.
Yeah.
As Kirby pointed out, that I'm assuming he was referring to the Now That I Look, a lot of all ages ads that were throughout this book that I just naturally just kind of didn't really give too much about. Things that are in the back and the inside and just everything. All the ads are specifically for kids. So yeah, I think that's kind of a cool idea, especially with going into the spooky season and having a book that is approachable for children as well. So as well as adults like us. Any other thoughts to say about this one? All right. Well, that is going to do it. This is the kickoff of a 4-issue miniseries for Marvel Zombies, Dawn of Decay. This one came out at the beginning of September. By the time we're recording this, it'll probably be very shortly until we get another one, and then we'll talk about it on a future episode of The Club. Alongside, definitely on the next episode, we'll cover What If Donald Duck Became Thor and Minor Arcana, issue number 1. And I'll throw out the duck signal into Canada and see if we can get D. Brad back for that there. And I know Kevin Wolf, too, has been enjoying those, so we'll probably have a decent lineup. We'll wait till everybody can join in for those, especially for those one-shots. So yeah, those are some upcoming club discussions alongside Batman Full Moon and What If Minnie Mouse Became Captain Marvel. All right, that is going to do it for this segment. Let's jump over to the weekly reviews. Welcome to the weekly reviews. I'm going to kick it off with a much anticipated title here. We have Slaughter Otter number 1. Do you miss the days when comics were nothing but page after page of nonstop badass action? Well, good news. Those days return. In this senses-shattering first issue, Slaughter Otter is sent on a mission to recover the Leech Queen's stolen device and slaughter everyone who gets in his way. But what happens when Slaughter gets double-crossed? What do you think? He lets his claws out. This comic is done by Matt Fife and Matt Rogers. We know them as past guests on the show. They are my co-host over at Cartoonist by Night and the co-creators of Happy Astronaut. For the video audience, I'm wearing a Happy Astronaut t-shirt right now, which you can get off of their Threadless shop, which I believe is happyastronautcomic.threadless.com. And I put out the message to get some Slaughter Otter stuff up there too as well. So here we are talking about the debut issue of their brand new series that is actually spinning out of Happy Astronaut. If you haven't read Happy, you can still read this as a standalone story. But if you do have Happy Astronaut #2, it is now an extra important issue because this is where Slaughter Otter first appeared, and dare I mention a version of Rice Christopher as well. So Happy Astronaut #2 is actually a very extra important issue now that this new series has begun. Over the last year, I have been seeing kind of snippets here and there in the process and the pages and stuff being shared with me, but this is the first time here that I read it as a whole, and I had an absolute blast with this. Much like the synopsis, it's talking about, page after page of nonstop badass action. That lives up to it. I think it flows extremely nice. It has a really awesome design tone to it. Matt Rogers has talked about that this is his best work to date, and just seeing the way he just kind of structures his panels, the action and the onomatopoeia in here, and just the panel design and the flow, and just breaking panels. There's a lot of cool action shots in here. Slaughter Otter, throwing out some knives here, and there's a lot of violence, a lot of action, and I think it lives up to exactly what they were going for, which was that 90s comic feel of just kind of letting the art drive the story. And you can see that Fife wrote a script here to let Rogers just kind of go wild with it and kind of have a lot of extra freedom to tell the story. Slaughter Otter is basically just on his own mission, kind of infiltrating this facility. He's looking for a specific item, which I won't talk about. That's for people to check out in the book. And he's being attacked by all these kind of soldiers that are coming through that are from Leech, which is an acronym for something. I don't think it's actually revealed in here. I'm trying to remember if that was spelled out for us. But for those wondering, Leech is like SHIELD. It's an acronym. And so he's being attacked by all these people, and it's one versus so many other people. And he has a lot of fun just with the humor of it all. Just the way he kind of tosses out guns and grenades, and there's a fun little moment that he kind of laughs at the idea of finger guns from his opponents, getting Slaughter Otter to bust out the real guns. And it was just very action packed and a lot of fun. And I think it's a very good jump on point for this story here. Like I said, a spinoff from Happy Astronaut, but you don't need to read that to jump into this one right away. And you just might want to get more by going into Happy as well. And and the other cool thing here, I'm just making sure the last page isn't shown on what I want to show off here, but I will have to cover it up here. But a friend of mine, Chris O'Connell, he's from the Comics Skokie area. We had him on Cartoonist by Night. He had this awesome pinup here. We also had Alejandro Rosado, another one of our friends, who had an awesome pinup cover there. So if I'm giving you some examples here, being like, oh, I got to get these pinups now. And then we have Trish Forrestner, who is from the Strays comic book, and with colors by Jay Hammond, who we had on Cartoonist by Night. We'll have to reach out to Trish to see if we can get her on that show as well. But so a lot of cool pinup gallery art there for Slaughter Otter, this brand new character making a big splash into the comic book scene. Kirby, did you read this one by chance? If you want,
yes, I did, and I really enjoyed it. My favorite comic done by the two guys to date. But it was just really enjoyable just seeing the aspect of a little bit more danger type character and how they played it out and the parodies that you kind of catch in throughout the book and stuff. But it was really well done. My new favorite character from
Agreed. And have all the variant covers to show off too. So Troy Dungara here has his cover B. So it was awesome to see his take on it. Jay Hammond that I mentioned with the colors on a pinup, he has a cover as well. Very explosive, awesome cover. Then Matt Rogers did a couple extra special covers, some of these being like the foil and the shiny ones, and doing homages to like Rob Liefeld style covers and stuff like that. So this one's very shiny. Once again, check out Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on YouTube to see a gallery of these awesome covers. Another super shiny cover here, another variant by Matt Rogers. And then here's one that's extra special. Now you think I'm holding issue 1, but now you realize it's extra shiny, even more shiny than the ones I mentioned, because this is the long anticipated and talked about metal cover. Now you're thinking like, oh yeah, that rocks, man. Whatever that's metal. Being like, no, it's literally metal. And the best way to show it beyond just it being shiny is I saw Rogers do this where he's just holding up the cover and you just see how the cover's not bending, and just to kind of show the material of this metal cover and just how the comic is hanging there. So yeah,
now, is the corner sharp?
I mean, yeah, that's pretty. I would say, yeah, you could.
That's the only thing I was curious about. If a kid grabbed it or something and cut himself.
Well, I would say the one thing that is anybody that's buying this, because it does have a much higher retail for the incentive of it all, that if it's anywhere on a shelf, it's probably up high, but yeah, and hopefully protected and by the comic shop if anybody has it on the rack. But
there are a lot more people that are coming out with those metal covers. I thought I was curious. I've never seen one to date. So
yeah, there's not too many artists out there that I'd be like, all right, I'll plop down some money for that. But when a friend of mine releases the comic, much like Slaughter Otter, and it's a metal cover, I figured, all right, if there's going to be one cover that I do it for, it's going to be that. And then if you don't think any of those covers are good, you're wrong. But also, you can just get a blank sketch cover variant and just draw your own, or maybe even hire Matt Rogers to draw you a cover as well. So yeah, they have a bunch of different cover treatments for this book. Very excited this exists, and hopefully on a future show I'll be wearing that on a T-shirt as well. So hopefully not a metal T-shirt though. That might chafe. So all right, that is going to do it for Slaughter Otter number 1. Let's jump over to Kirby.
Hey, I got Garfield number 1. Of course, I had to grab the sketch covers, the orange and the white ones. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I was kind of worried a little bit because when I first seen some of the cover artwork, it looked a little goofier version. It's also focusing into the new Garfield movie, which I have in my watch list but haven't watched yet. But yeah, the first story, Midnight Munchies. It's done by Ryan Estrada and Exer Inez. We get a whole week's worth of days of Garfield trying to find a way to get a midnight snack without doing too much work to get that midnight snack. And they did a really good job playing through it. I felt like they did a little family circus stuff there with that part of it. But yeah, it was enjoyable seeing all his different attempts at how he was going to do it. And he actually does put more work into trying to get the food than what it would take to just get his butt out of his bed and walk to the fridge, open the fridge, and get the food. Instead, he does all these fancy little things, builds all kinds of traps and stuff to try and get the refrigerator to open at midnight for that special nighttime snack. And it's a fun outcome that they do with the whole ordeal in the end of it. And then the second story is John minus Garfield by Sarah Graley and Steph Purenis. This story focuses more on John feeling lonely. The Garfield and Odie disappeared, went somewhere for the day, just ran off. John's kind of on the search for him to see if he can find him. Does some stopping along the way, and as he stops at each shop or store or restaurant or meat market or whatever, they find out that, yeah, they know who that cat is. And that cat's a troublemaker, but thankfully they haven't seen him recently. So John's buying stuff at each place as he goes and kind of like making up for things. And gets home and he's got a ton of food and still no Garfield. So, but yeah, it was a really enjoyable outcome on that story. Also, that one also it has a little teaser towards the end that it's going to lead. That story will lead into the movie. So I kind of want to watch the movie this weekend and check it out. But yeah, they did a really good job with this. And I just noticed with the sketch cover, they do have the regular cover behind it. So that's not always nice. I like that when they do that. So.
There you go. Yeah, I read the first issue as well. Seen the movie. I think it's very cute, very fun. I'd watch it again. I just read issue 2 of Garfield this morning, actually, and a fun story of a villain cat who is trying to make it the worst Monday ever for Garfield. You have to read that to find out how he's going to make Monday even worse. But yeah, that's fun. I think that's a 4-issue miniseries, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Cool. All right, let's jump over to Katie. I'm very excited because we get to talk about Emma Kubert in this review. What you got?
That's right. This week I have Emma Kubert's Stoneheart number 1 through 3. I do have 4 and 5, but I didn't get to them today. This comic's been out for a while, and I bought it because we read some Emma Kubert work with the club before, and I really enjoyed it, liked it quite a bit. And she's doing her interpretation on a fantasy story. I'm like, you know what? That sounds really good. So pulled it off the stack today, and let's jump into it. So this follows the story of a young woman named Shade Whisper. Now, in this fantasy world, there are beings who evolved on from being just purely human, and then they can use magic, and they are called paladins, and they have very powerful magic, and there's all kinds of rules about what they should and shouldn't do with it. So our story opens at a courtroom trial where this kind of high council of paladins is deciding what they should do with this prisoner, because prisoner's too powerful. They use their powers for destruction instead of trying to help others. And there's a debate about we should exile them, we should keep them around because they could really help us in the event of, like, a war in the future. And they end up kind of going with a bit of a middle ground, which is they give her this potion that makes her forget who she is and where she came from. And all her memories of her life have been rewritten to be different. So our story then shows us with Shade is being sent to a new city, and she has been apprenticed to a blacksmith there. And the first issue kind of goes about her life adjusting to this new city and enjoying her work as a blacksmith, but feeling very odd and uncomfortable about this gap in her memories. And Emma did something really cool in the illustration where she uses red text boxes periodically throughout the story to illustrate this higher power, this representation of Shade's magic talking to her. And, Shade doesn't remember who she is, but other people do. Other people do. They're called mythics, and they, of course, want to get their hands on her for nefarious purposes. And her new mentor, the blacksmith, is abducted and presumably dead. An acquaintance takes his place, and it seems at first that he's going to be an ally for Shade. And, they get into some trouble in town with some bad guys. And Shade has an incident where she goes unconscious, but she summons her magic powers and does a lot of damage and really scares off the thugs. And at the end of the book, we see, unfortunately, this new ally was working for the bad guys all along and gives Shade a potion and takes her to this group of mythics called not group. There's a group of mythics. They are led by a woman named Eve, and Eve wants to reawaken Shade's powers to use them for presumably evil, and Shade's next test is going to be fighting a basilisk in the underground areas of this town. Now, as kind of a side backstory, if we remember that, Council of Elders at the beginning of the book who made the decision, what are we going to do with this prisoner? There were people who disagreed, who said, we should keep her, we can train her, we can help her. This is a child of the prophecy that we have been told about that is going to be the most powerful of any of us. And they're working to try and get Shade back home. And we will see where that goes. And maybe they'll get to her, maybe they won't. But this is a very powerful young person who is having trouble learning who to trust and who to be wary of. But I am enjoying this setup in Emma Kubert's Stoneheart. This is published by Image Comics. And I'm looking forward to more. I want to see this basilisk fight. We love a good wizard fight. That should be really fun. But I'm very impressed with what the author has done so far. And this has been good. If you have read her previous works, I think you'll really enjoy this. I like the way her mind works. And it's a fun fantasy. And looking forward to telling you about 4 and 5 in a later episode. But anyway, that's been my review of Stoneheart by Emma Kubert, number 1 through 3 by Image Comics. Check it out.
Cool. Yeah, I think I have those issues in my to read pile, so I'm excited to check them out now. So Cool. All right, I'm going to jump over to this comic here, very much anticipated. This is an all-new full-length adventure. We're talking about Archie, The Decision, number 1. Archie finally decides. At long last, the answer to the question generations of fans have asked will be answered. Who will Archie choose, Betty or Veronica? Everyone in Riverdale is waiting. They're all just waiting for his choice. And all of your favorites, from Josie and the Pussycats to Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and yes, even Hot Dog too. They're all joining in on the fun. No matter who you want him to choose, you definitely don't want to miss this all-new, full-length story. This is done by Tom King, Dan Parent, Bob Smith, Rosario Tito Pena, and Jack Morelli. I was going to buy this anyways because it's from Archie Comics and it says Archie on it. But the huge draw to this, not only with legendary Dan Parent penciling this issue, but Tom King is making his Archie Comics debut. Tom King, we know from Marvel and DC projects and independent projects and everything you can imagine, one of the top writers of the last decade. And he's talked about it on many occasions, a lot of times on his word balloon interviews, how much he loves Archie Comics and how his household loves Archie Comics and got his kids into Archie Comics. And him talking about that led to him having this pitch and talking with the editor-in-chief and going up to the higher-ups. And here we are. We've got a one-shot issue of Archie written by Tom King. And you can definitely see that like a lifelong Archie fan is someone who wrote this comic book, because it does pretty much, if you were going to give like one chance to write an Archie comic, it feels like you just like want to just, all right, I got to put everybody in this. I want these characters and this character and this character. How can you cram that into like 5 pages or whatever? Well, you get a full length issue this time around, and you do get to see all these characters, whether it's just a single one-word cameo or just a walk-by appearance. But Tom King did not waste any time to just be like, all right, this might be the only time I get to do this, so I'm going to just write the heck out of this story. And all predicated on the classic, trope of Archie trying to decide over Betty and Veronica. And between him and Jughead, they're trying to figure out how to finally decide. And it's going to be with the flip of a coin. And the whole idea is I do want to show off the first page where Archie's sitting there just deciding. But Jughead also has a very difficult decision as he's looking between the, barbecue and burgers and just the hardest decision one could ever imagine. But Archie wants to make the decision, and that all results in a coin flip. A coin flip sets the story off as the coin is flying out of the window, and it's very comical that this coin is just basically going all the way through town. And as they run past it, everybody else is witnessing this, and everyone else is, you see the coin bouncing past Betty and Veronica. and everyone basically is on for the chase now to see what the results are going to be, heads or tails. And you go through the malt shop, and you see Reggie, you see Moose, you get Sabrina and Josie, and they just go through this whole line. And when I talked about that, Tom King has that his children are big into Archie comics. Well, now his children are in Archie comics, because that was one thing that he mentioned, that he had the opportunity to have his children make a little cameo. Now, when this is on the table, that means I am the one that is going to be looking extra close, just in case I happen to make an appearance, because I too am part of the Archie comic universe. And I was not in this book, but if you're watching the video version, you'll see my little walk by here is me walking between a Betty and Veronica scene from A Christmas Story from a couple years ago now, which means I might be reprinted sometime soon. So I'll have to read all the new Christmas releases to see if I appear again. But yeah, so this is a fun tale. I'm not going to talk about what happens with the decision. It's a one-shot comic. It's Archie Comics. It's fun. It's a quick read. It's a fun read. But yeah, just know that there's a lot of hype into the story, and after what I think is 85 years of Archie Comics, you could just kind of wonder, like, okay, are they finally going to answer the question here? You know, just kind of remember that these comics keep on going and going and going. So it's a lot of fun. I really like the result of this, and it was just great to just see all the. I'll show this page because it shows just a great page too. And Tom King, he loves the Watchmen style for his artists when they kind of do the like the 9-panel grids and all that stuff. And here you've got an opportunity for 12 panels in a way. So I can even see some influence there. Of him bringing his big two Marvel DC work into this story. But I'm guessing Tom King had a lot of fun with this story, because I sure did. Now Kirby was holding it up as well. Did you read The Decision?
Yeah, I just got it read right before the show, and yeah, I kind of had a feeling with certain things, but I really like the Jughead decision being thrown in there too. You got to have that little burger thing. That was lots of fun. What they did with that. The only thing I was curious about, because my comic auction today, I missed out. I lost it. Someone else got it, but there was a Little Jinx comic, and they're really hard to find. And this one was pretty beat up. The cover was falling off, but I didn't care. Little Jinx gets mentioned in here, but Little Jinx was back with Little Archie and them, and they all grew up. Why didn't Little Jinx grow up? And that kind of threw me off a little bit there. But
Yeah, because
yeah, I love what he did with the rest of the story. It was awesome.
Because I'm trying to remember. Does she appear? Because I know we have Jelly Bean in here.
Yeah, it's in the big group shot.
Yeah, there's a lot of them running, but
Yeah, I know.
because Jelly Bean's down here.
Isn't that her right there?
Yeah, maybe. Well, I'll say this, that because right next to, because you see the Crosby written on the sleeve there, and I know because of Word Balloon that is so yeah, they mention Little Jinx.
Yeah.
So I know Tom King's son is in that crowd shot, and I know he's got a daughter, and I'm wondering if maybe that's her. So maybe Little Jinx was just mentioned but not seen. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's the only thing that threw me off a little bit, but that was mainly because of the auction.
Yeah, there's another young girl running in the crowd.
Yeah, the one with the hair tied up in the front part.
But yeah, that would be a funny thing if just yeah, and it's good that you mentioned the little Archie too. It's just the fact that they mentioned that because that was Tom King's way of being like, all right, I just have to mention little Archie, and just kind of everything he could ever call back to of 85 years and fit it in 20 pages, Yeah. But
and he did a really fun thing with Sabrina too. I like how he got the gist of everything.
And then, talking about the decision, not only is it Archie's decision, not only is it Jughead's decision, but Betty and Veronica have a very comical way of kind of talking about the results of what this is going to be. So as they're running to find out themselves, they have kind of an ongoing story themselves of just being like, all right, this is how we're going to react if whether it's going to be you or me or her or this or that. And so yeah, there's an extra layer. Like it was just a ton of fun just because it all became a big chase. All of Riverdale needing to find out. So, but yeah, I had a blast with that. So check that out. A one-shot issue. If there was ever one Archie comic to get outside of that Christmas story that has a cameo with me in, I recommend Archie the Decision. All right, let's jump over to Kirby. What you got for us next?
I got Spider-Man, Black Suit and Blood.
Mm.
The next chapter of our Black, White, and whatever type series. I'm gonna need my glasses for this. We got Losing Face by J.M. DeMatteis, Elena Casagrande. In this story, we kind of get Spider-Man with old enemy, a character that over time he's given chances, helped out, and has fallen back into his bad ways on and off throughout things. But there just happens to be a funeral, and all the bad guys are there around the casket, and Spidey just happens to make a little appearance at the coffin and just giving his piece to the character that's laying there. And then we get to find out the history and the story throughout that first one, and it was really enjoyable learning about this character, what this character's done with Spidey in the past and everything. They did a really good job with that one. That's the longest story in this issue. And then we jump over to Inside the House with Alyssa Wong and Fran Galan. This one was only a 2-pager. It was like a 4-pager. But we get to see Mary Jane kind of like feeling that Spidey's hiding something from her. She's hearing noises in the wall. She's hearing noises in the floor. There's something alive, something in the house, and Spidey's not letting her know what it is. And she does some exploring on her own, and we find out some interesting things about it. Obviously, with the Black Suit and Blood, you're dealing with the symbiote side of Spider-Man with pretty much every story. But you got Dysmorphia by Dustin Guyan. And this one is where a character is trying to get away and he's being chased by Spider-Man. And it ends up where Spidey has lots of things go wrong. And it's basically a foot chase that turns out where the good guy is having a bad day throughout it, and anything he does just isn't working out for him. And then our last story, which is Fade to Black by J. Michael Straczynski, Summit Kumar, Craig Yoon, and one other person. It's got way too long of a name. This one's a fun little play on, if you know anything about the symbiotes, all our characters that get infected end up having a little bit of symbiote left in them. For some reason, when the symbiote leaves, something gets left over in everybody, so they can reinfect them down the road or whatever. But we get it. It starts out with just a couple kids in 2 different Spidey suits arguing away over everything, and then it kind of goes to the adult version of Spidey, and we get to see a unique twist on him trying to deal with the 2 types of characters and why he's using the suit that he's using now, when it's not an actual symbiote. It's just a suit that he made, and it's just the conflict between the red suit, black suit, and all that. The way they did this whole storyline was very well done. I really like how they played with the bit of the symbiote that's left in Spidey. You get this kind of partial symbiote character that's kind of dying and the body's all messed up because it's missing all the rest of the symbiote aspect to it. But yeah, they did a really good job with that, and I like that. I learned some stuff from this story. It just learned some history of Spidey and stuff that I didn't know about, and just there's another better version of the symbiote. It's like just basically missing half his body, just ghost in the shell of himself. But yeah, I really enjoyed this first one. I can't remember how many this one's going to have in it, if it's going to be a 4 or 5 issue run, but looking forward to the rest of them. I like the Black Suit Spidey the best. So.
Cool. All right, we are going to jump over to Jim. What you got for us?
I have from the DC event series, Absolute Power Ground Zero #1. I think it's the only one, so number 1 is kind of misleading. But this is the foundation book for all of the Absolute Power books that are coming out, including the main line and all the tie-ins. This one deals with the setup for the main agents of Amanda Waller's new group to control all the superheroes or eliminate all the superheroes that are not under her control. And that so she can rule the country and the world the way she thinks it should be done. This starts out with her and Dreamer looking at the plans for Gamora Island, which is in I believe it's in the South Pacific. It is an island nation out there that has a very strange history in DC, but they are going there for a specific target. Dreamer is out there to help capture Jay Nakamura, which is a relatively new character. He is the boyfriend of John Kent, and apparently is a superhero in his own right, which I did not know. He goes by the name Gossamer, I believe, and has this phasing kind of power. Dreamer is out there to kind of be a decoy and let Deadshot get a shot at him so that they can capture him. It's unknown why they're capturing him, but we see a little drama between these two people that are friends or were friends. And we find out that Dreamer is not working with Amanda Waller willingly, but under duress because she is threatening Dreamer's family. But it doesn't matter to Jay because they still killed his mother, and Dreamer was a part of that, so they're kind of on the outs. That was part 1 of the story. Part 2 of the story is another character that I don't know anything about. His name is John Starr. He goes by the title Time Commander, and apparently he has made several kinds of technological hourglass that allows him to control time. Amanda Waller has captured him and is forcing him to work on a project to bring a robot back to life. And this robot happens to be the remains of Failsafe, the Batman android that Batman built years ago as an ultimate deterrent in case he goes bad. There was a big, long story about that about a year or maybe 2 years ago now. I don't quite remember, where Batman was on the outs with his whole family and was running from Failsafe and trying to get everything taken care of. Of course, I ultimately did and left Failsafe basically a rusting hulk. Well, they're putting Failsafe back together under Amanda Waller's control now. Time Commander is not doing this very willingly. He tries several things to try to get escape, and finds out it doesn't work. They have thought ahead and brought him back to the same spot where he starts. So no matter what he does, he keeps coming back. So he's forced to work on this project and restore Failsafe. Part 3 is a little bit different, and because it goes farther back into history, with Amanda Waller finding a crashed ship that contains a young female-looking android that is full of Brainiac technology, and this is the Brainiac Queen. Amanda takes her, and with the help of Failsafe, is able to electronically brainwash the Brainiac Queen into growing up, in quotation marks, the way Amanda Waller wants her, and trains her to be the same kind of hatred of superheroes that Amanda does. So when, in the course of a month, the Brainiac Queen gets years worth of indoctrination from Amanda Waller and is finally free to do this. So they have the technological advantage of a Brainiac, the strategic advantage of Failsafe, and all the dream powers of Dreamer on her side to go to war with all the superheroes in the DC universe and not quite all of them, but most of them are against her. When you get to the main storyline, you find out there are still a few of them that are with her for some reason. But this one was quite interesting. Like I said, it was 3 parts, and it was 3 long stories. There was also a good long writing team on this book. Let's see. Mark Waid is the overall writer for this story. Writer or editor, he's the one doing in control of it. But for this book, it was, Chip Zdarsky was one of the writers, Josh Williamson, and Maines, I forget the first name.
Nicole Maines, that's true.
Yeah, Nicole, correct, yeah.
And Nicole, she was who created or played Dreamer in the Supergirl TV show.
Yep.
So, yeah.
She was actually one of the writers there on this book, so. Yeah, and then because it is 3 parts, there was a whole raft of artists as well. So this was, I did not know what this was all going to be about, so it was nice to have some background to the story. Since I hadn't been looking at catalogs and haven't been reading the monthly books, I haven't seen any of the previews for this until it actually was here. And it's like, oh, I'm going to see what this is about. It was nice to read this. This looks like it's going to be a really interesting story. I'm not going to go into all the tie-ins, but I am going to read the main line of this book. And I think I'm probably going to look into the Amanda Waller preview series as well.
Yeah, it's I've been enjoying how much Dreamer has been thrown into the DC universe from the TV world, and Nicole getting to write that character, whether it's been in anthologies, and then there's I think it's a graphic novel. I have it in my pack or my stack, but I haven't read it yet. And then she was part of a Suicide Squad miniseries with Amanda Waller and stuff too. So yeah, it's cool to just see Dreamer just kind of them doing a lot with that character. So
yeah, and just another one that made it from TV show into the main line, just like Harley Quinn did.
Yeah, it's something that hasn't happened that many times, and yeah, it's cool to see when it happens.
Yep.
Cool.
That's that book.
All right, and that is actually going to do it for the weekly reviews, and that is going to do it for this episode. We have some plugs, though. If you go to crimsoncowl.com, you can go there for information and original webcomics. Now, let's say you're reading one of those webcomics on crimsoncowl.com, and you're seeing these characters from Tales from the North, and you're really liking it, and you're like, you know what? I want to get a physical comic book. Well, all you have to do is reach out to Crimson Cowl. I'm sure I don't run the website. David does that, and I would assume there's an email up there. But otherwise, you can just comment on this video and or wherever you're listening to this, just reach out to us on social media because there is a physical comic book that David Gloyd and David Gloyd II have done that is different from the web comics that are on the website. So that's Tales from the North, the Dungeon. So all of that is found through crimsoncowl.com. If you want to subscribe to the show, Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on iTunes, subscribe, rate, and review. If you want the video version, which shows off when we're talking about panels and all those awesome covers, everything that we're talking about on the show, we have a full YouTube version as well. So Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on YouTube. Please subscribe and like and comment and all of that fun stuff. Kirby, you have a spin-off podcast called Under the Cowl of MS. If you want to let people know what's been going on over there, I think you've been doing a lot of stuff for October.
Yeah, on the YouTube channel every day throughout October, I'm doing a single comic book review while wearing a mask, or if the mask annoys me, I'll take it off. But starts out with the mask, a different mask every day. Trying to get some other reviews and unboxings in there, but the algorithm's throwing things off. I put more than one thing up a day, so I'm trying to figure that out. Also on Instagram, you can check out some of those reviews will be pushed over that way eventually, but I'm also doing artwork for Boktober. So you can check out daily artwork on there for that also. But yeah, check those out. All kinds of fun things piling up. I'm getting them out there.
That is awesome. So yeah, subscribe to Under the Call of MS wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube and social media platforms. Let's see here. I have some artist accounts. Anthony Laatsch, Laatsch, over on Facebook and Instagram. I too have been participating in Boktober, hashtag Boktober, which our friend Brian Lynch from Hot Wing of Justice has created his drawing prompts. October lends to Inktober for a lot of artists, and then there's a lot of spin-off ones that people kind of curate their own prompts and everything. If you're watching the video version, you're getting to see some of those right now that Kirby is going through his sketchbook there. So yeah, I've got a couple Boktober posts as well on those art accounts. And then also Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. Speaking of Brian Lynch, we recorded another episode with him. It'll be out by the time you guys are listening and watching this video, because with Boktober going on, we wanted to revisit with him and have a returning guest, have kind of a chill and relaxed episode, bringing him back and having him hang out with us. And basically, we're drawing whatever we want, talking about whatever we want. But a couple of us are working on Boktober pieces in that Cartoonist by Night episode. So subscribe to Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. There's 25 episodes or more up there of us hanging out and drawing with Troy Dungara from Kid Slapshot and Jungle Drama. By the way, Jungle Drama has Salty Beaches, which is a brand new Jungle Drama issue that is coming out soon. And then we have Matt Fife and Matt Rogers from Happy Astronaut and Slaughter Otter, part of Cartoonist by Night, as well as our cartoon duck enthusiast, D. Brad Gibson, who we've had on this very show to talk about the duck-related issues that we'll have on future episodes as well. So Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. Subscribe, hang out, check it out, and draw along. And then, speaking of drawing and advertising and plugging and comics and all that fun stuff, I, of course, have my very first comic book, Rice Christopher, the Wednesday afternoon special. It is a 20-page comic book that has a 16-page story, action, fun, adventure about a crispy rice man. And then there's some activity pages, and there's a maze in there, some comic strips. And with the first print edition, you get some coloring sheets included with that purchase. If you reach out to me for an order, you have the option to take a look at the rest of my menu, which includes some character prints. These are all 6x9 prints here of Rice Christopher and Nikki the Swan. And so I got a bunch of different prints. I've got a selection of stickers as well. I've been shipping out orders all over the United States. It's been fun to do that thing. You know, I went from, the majority of my life, maybe mailing 2 things ever in the world. Just like never was, I was always one getting the packages and not sending them out. Never was much for that. I never had a reason to, basically. And it's been crazy to kind of turn that around and then be at the post office every other day and sending out copies. Now, if you want your copy of Rice Christopher, the Wednesday afternoon special, this edition that we're talking about at the time of this recording, this one is a $5 comic book, all ages fun. So just reach out to us, comment on the video, or you can email latchkeykid over at gmail.com, LAATSCH, latchkeykid at gmail.com. And I have been talking about it, but I am working on a short Halloween story that I have all intentions of releasing for this Halloween. So by the time you see this, it's probably going to get very close, but I'm about halfway through on page 2 of 5 right now. So I'm very confident I can get that done. I'm going to do some more work when we end this show, but we can't end this show until we do the one final thing that we do is by thanking people for checking it out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please let a friend know about the Crimson Cowl Comic Club if you like what you're seeing here and get more people in on the discussion. That's going to do it for this episode. This whole time, I've been getting closer to that great greasy spoon in the sky.
I've been spewing symbiote all over my cat.
I've been fighting in a wizard battle with a basilisk.
I'm the time commander.
To be continued.
Thank you, Slimer.